Okay, so Richard, on Tuesday we got the unfortunate news of the collapse of a potential takeover for Gateshead Football Club. Just, if you can, what light can you shed on that situation?
Well, basically, last week, I suppose start again. We had a lot of initial interest in the club, which was good. It quickly became apparent that one party became a front runner. They pretty much answered all our questions. They showed us they had the finances, and they certainly looked like they were in a position to take the club on, which was obviously hugely exciting. We asked them a lot of questions. We really probed into their background, and everything ticked the box. They, very credible, very nice people. Unfortunately, at the league meeting last week, fair to say it became apparent their business model didn't quite stack up. As a result, that became clear they wouldn't get National League approval. And unfortunately they weren't able to obviously then take the deal forward, so that left us in a bit of a predicament, because whilst we'd had other interest, the other interested parties, some of their requirements were impossible for the club to meet. The stadium being one of them wasn't within our gift, so that was tricky.
As a result, yourself and Julie have agreed to take the club on for another season, albeit at a reduced budget. What were the factors behind that decision?
Well, I think, in all honesty, when we first came into Gateshead, we had a budget in mind that we put into the club. We certainly thought that budget would go across probably 5, maybe 6 seasons. We spent it a lot quicker. What we felt at the end of the season just gone was that we wouldn't be able to obviously continue at the same level of investment required for the club, and therefore felt it was the right time for somebody else to come in and take the club on.
It's been 2 months pretty much since you announced you're looking for new owners. How have those 2 months been? Must have been hard.
Yeah, they have. I mean, we've had, if you like, it's been stressful. It's had everything really. That old cliche of roller coaster. I think, especially with the initial interest, you did feel we'd get a deal done. But then when that interest, when you start filtering it out because of different reasons and things they haven't been able to satisfy, suddenly, you're starting getting down to ones, and then it becomes, you're hanging a lot on one party. It would have been nice to have been in a position where we had 2 or 3 parties that were ready to go, and then we would have guaranteed the future of the club in that sense. But we are where we are, and we didn't want to see the club fold, so we felt it was only right that we try and put a budget together to help keep the club running.
And as you say, at the end of the day, Gateshead still has a football club. How important is that?
Well, I think it's massively important for the town. Gateshead, between Newcastle and Sunderland, is quite often seen, I hate to say the poor man's brother, but we're not. We're a great town. We've got the Angel of the North, which is, put us on the map. And I think the football club's important to that as well. We get to play games all over the country, and we're spreading the message of Gateshead Town, Gateshead Football Club.
You said throughout your time here, called on the support of the people from Gateshead. Is the situation we're in maybe a consequence of that maybe lack of support?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to blame the supporters entirely, because that's not the case. We've got some fantastic supporters who come in, week out, and have been so loyal to the club. It's been fantastic and really commendable. The difficulty we've had is being able to get into the wider Gateshead community, and I think that's the bit I'm slightly disappointed at, because a club of this size needs, to compete with a sensible budget, needs about 2,500 supporters, and we're a long way shy from 2,500. And yet when you think it's about 2.5% of the Gateshead population.
Yeah, and how vital is it that everyone just, from Tyneside even, just gets behind the club in whatever way they can? Maybe not even coming to games week in, week out, but just supporting the club.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously something that we hope will happen. We want Gateshead to be everyone's second club. We know that's a big ask, but it's a great place to come. As we all know, we've all been here a long time, and there's no better atmosphere than when we're all together and working towards, or supporting the team, working towards the future of the club. So it's hugely important.
You've mentioned the reduced budget. What impact will that have, and what does it mean, the reduced budget?
Well, I think in reality, obviously we've got to reduce the budget to reduce costs. Our outgoings are exceeding our income, and the simple thing is we've got to reverse that. Gateshead doesn't have a huge income. We have one that can be managed, but in managing it means a very, very tight playing budget, and that at the moment is something that we're trying to settle on. We've got a couple of budgets in mind at the minute. Both represent significant cuts on last, but both would also mean that the club has a future.
And reduced budget obviously isn't ideal, but it can bring positives like the local players.
Yeah, well, and you know, that's something that I think is important. I think we've lost that probably over the last couple of years. Everyone loves a local hero, and I think it would be nice to have 11 local heroes on the pitch if we can. I think that would be good for the club. I think it would be good for the community. I think people identifying with those players, seeing them in town, seeing them, you know, in the sort of, I guess, in leisure time will be fantastic. So I think that's important.
It's going to be a busy couple of months before the season starts. What's sort of the plan moving forward these next few weeks?
Well, there's a lot to do in a very short space of time. Obviously, I feel like I did 3 years ago when I first took over. We're having to react to everything that needs done. So, you know, we've got to get a playing squad done. So we've got to get a playing squad sorted. We've got to try and get our manager settled and comfortable with the ask that we're asking of him. You know, there is a lot to do, but I'm confident we'll get it done.
Just mentioned Steve and some of the players have been very patient. Where do they stand at the moment?
Yeah, and again, I feel really sorry for the players. They've been excellent in terms of you know, their patience in waiting. Obviously, some couldn't wait any longer and have decided that they've got to go. Our situation at the moment is really to try and resolve the manager situation. We want Steve to stay. We want to make it you know, an attractive proposition for him. He's hugely ambitious. He wants to win things. We don't want to set him up to fail. So, you know, Steve's got a few things that he's got to be comfortable with, and likewise we've got to make sure that we can operate within the costs, you know, that will allow us to put a team out to compete.
Will you still be seeking new owners actively?
Well, we still have some interest, and yes, the club will still remain up for sale. I think it's important, you know, from our own point of view, that, you know, it's all well and good making Gateshead sustainable, but it would actually be wonderful if we could bring in some new investors who could bring in some, you know, a new future for the club. I think that's important. The club remains up for sale. We do have interest, but it's not. Some of it, I don't want to get too carried away, because I think until we get to a finishing line, then it's not worth getting everybody, you know, excited about. I think what will happen, and I'm confident a deal will be reached, but I think at the moment we concentrate on daily business.
Is there still plenty to be positive about here at Gateshead?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, we've took probably you know, we've gone through a bit of a tough time, I think, with, you know, the highs of an expecting a new owner to, you know, the reality of having to operate within your costs. But I think, you know, the optimism we should be having is, one, we've still got a club, we're still in business. It's in all our hands. You know, we support the club. We'll be looking at initiatives. I've been delighted with the response from fans so far, offering their help and support. We'll be certainly looking to grasp that, and I'm really grateful for those people who have offered that. And I think really what we've got to have is a different outlook for Gateshead Football Club under the current circumstances.